Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I've got for you for this Black Friday is something I've been chomping at the bit because Tim Pool, the guy who talks to everyone in the middle, he just predicted and declared that we're going to have national reciprocity for constitutional carry within the next 2 to 3 years. I cannot wait to walk you through this. This is going to blow your mind, but it's bigger than just Tim Pool. It's what this symbolizes is what we always dive into on this channel. Now, of course, everything will be linked in the description box below. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And we are going to distribute some freedom. Let's get into this, my beautiful people. This is a big deal, and let me tell you why it's such a big deal, and then I'll show you 3 clips. You need to watch all 3 of these. The reason this is such a massive deal, Tim Pool doesn't speak to the far right. He doesn't speak to the far left. He speaks to people who are mostly in the middle with a little bit of leeway on both sides. The reason this is so massive is he's spitting facts around constitutional issues around our gun rights. And he's referencing the Maryland decision that just came down, the Bruen decision just came down, and how the states were serving out injustices against every single everyday person. This is a big deal because the fights that we've been doing are going mainstream. That's the whole point here. But let me get into Tim's clips. You're going to love this. All right, let me hear you in the comments. Let's get it.
I got such amazing news for all of you. This is from U.S. News. Maryland handgun licensure law is unconstitutional. U.S. court rules. This is massive, okay? A U.S. appeals court, this is federal, on Tuesday declared that Maryland's licensing requirements for people seeking to buy handguns were unconstitutional, citing a landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision last year that expanded gun rights. Let me break it down for you.
So that's the setup. He's going into Maryland, the Fourth Circuit, of which we covered, and he's talking about how the Fourth Circuit said a licensure to own is unconstitutional. That's a really big deal. Again, keep in mind who is saying this and the audience of which he is speaking. This is bigger than just, they're going to come for your rights, they're going to take your guns. This is speaking to every single person in the middle. That's when your message starts to permeate, is when you go out of the people who are live, breathe, die this, like you and I, and you start to go to the people who may not understand exactly what's been happening and what is currently happening for their rights. This is big, people, because that's what we're about on this channel, passing the blessing on to the next generation. And that next generation depends on the people in the middle seeing what they're doing to their rights. That's why we focus so hard on the macro trends. This is big. All right, now let's get into the second one because we've got a point to deliver. Check this out.
In Maryland, to get a gun, you got to take a safety class, like a 4-hour program, and then get a license, and then you can do this. A lot of states do this. And now a U.S. federal court has just said, not anymore. This is a major milestone in universal federal constitutional carry, which we should have because the Constitution is federal. Yet state by state, we are still fighting this battle over constitutional carry now. More than half the country is constitutional carry. And those that remain, the evil states, they call them the evil 7, they're now losing time and time again. This will probably get appealed. We'll see what happens if it goes to the Supreme Court, but for the time being, a massive victory.
A massive victory because this is going towards the right to keep and bear arms. The Constitution says the right to keep and bear arms. Again, the big deal here is not that Tim Pool is saying it. The big deal here is that the audience of which Tim Pool speaks to is hearing it. It's always the third person in the room. When you're debating a leftist, when you're debating a gun controller, anything of that nature, you're not going to convert that person. But the third person in the room who's listening to the not crazy, you can convert. And that's a big part of what we dive into here. Tim Pool just flat out said, it's unconstitutional what they're doing. They had special rules. They didn't want to give people their rights. It's not going to happen anymore. Again, all coming from the Maryland decision. Now, this last clip is powerful. And I hope you guys stuck around for this one because this is where it all comes out. And he says 2 to 3 years. He may be right, he may be wrong. But again, the audience, check this.
Maryland and New Jersey and New York would not give you a permit. They'd give you one only if you were rich or famous and could prove you were rich and famous. The other way to get it is if you, if you handle large sums of cash, like working at a bank, they would allow you to get a permit as a security guard. But so almost nobody gets them. Now, they've lost that. And the latest news is they said, okay, fine, you can get a gun, but you got to take a class. And now the courts are like, nah, you don't. You can have a gun. So Maryland is about to be forced by a judicial review to become constitutional carry. This rule is a major push. We may eventually see, and I'm talking like in 2 or 3 years, maybe 4, depending on how long it takes the Supreme Court. But we could see in the next several years nationwide constitutional carry, which means you can be in Maryland and carry concealed and drive to any state you want and not go to prison for doing so.
Yeah.
Which is insane if you think about it, because the Constitution of the United States says you have the right to keep and bear arms. So why is that if you go from Virginia to West Virginia, you're fine, and if you go to Maryland, now you're committing a felony?
All right, so he did mix up a little bit here, and this is an important distinction. That's why I wanted you to watch the whole video. The ruling in Maryland out of the Fourth Circuit does not mean that they're being forced to be constitutional carry. What it's saying is you cannot be forced to have a license to own a handgun or buy a handgun. That's the key. It's not so much enforcing the constitutional carry, more so than just striking down the idea that you have to have a license to have a right. Now, the next steps are national constitutional carry. It will take time. National reciprocity will get there. But the important piece here is he's highlighting exactly what we all know. You can't have rights because we don't want you to have rights. The court says it's unconstitutional, and there's 7 states that do it, but the rest don't. There's an inconsistency in the system. This case in Maryland is a big deal. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and watched all the way through. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.